Hello everyone and welcome back of course to the JP on Comms YouTube channel, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the first game of the National League campaign for Maidstone United away to Altrincham. So onto the Altrincham game of course, and just about 200 Stones fans did make the journey up to Altrincham. Took us about 5 hours to get there on the supporters coach, and about 5 hours to get back as well, so an incredibly long trip all around, and definitely one of the longest that many of us will make this season. But it was in the end really worth it, you know, seeing the Stones back in the National League for the first time in a few years now, against a very good Altrincham side actually. Very well drilled, very unlucky with the goal that they did concede, although we could have scored more. We just unfortunately didn't take our chances. If you have watched the highlights uploaded by Stones TV, then you'll notice that Jack Barham did have a shot pretty early on when we were 1-0 up to perhaps double the scoreline. Unfortunately, a few people have said that it was tipped onto the post by the goalkeeper. I thought he just hit the post, but either way, didn't go in, and we did unfortunately miss that opportunity to go 2-0 up. And it wasn't too long after that that Altrincham did momentum switch. They really did come for us after about the half an hour mark. Maidstone were completely dominant. I thought that we were actually going to run away with it, maybe quite naively. After the first half an hour, we did look like we were just dominating them in every aspect of the park. High press was on, pinned them back for the whole game, and every time they come forward, I was incredibly impressed by our defensive line. Gavin Hoyt, again, another standout player who barely loses a duel. Jack Cooley very much impressed me after, I think a few people would agree, a particularly slow start to pre-season. There was a few times where he might have pushed up a little bit, maybe just trying to look to get involved in play a little bit more against weak opposition, and that did leave us a little bit exposed at the back. But yesterday, or Saturday, Monday I'm recording this, so Saturday, he did look fantastic for me. You know, he did win his duels, he did win his headers, managed to direct them out back to where they came from, or at least out towards a Maidstone player at times. We were under an incredible amount of pressure for vast amounts of that game. A good 50 to 60 minutes of the game we were pegged back, primarily due to 10 men in the second half. Hadi Gandor did get sent off, I think around the hour mark, not entirely sure, maybe a little bit earlier than that, maybe a little bit later, but to Hadi, you know, no one cares about it outside of the club. I don't know obviously what the reaction is within the dressing room, but from all the fans that I've spoken to, myself included, there's no need to worry about it. These things happen, you know, players get red cards, players get unjust red cards, and it was a little bit harsh. But unfortunately, when you are playing in this division, you can't really give referees or officials any opportunity to issue a booking, and you know, it's one of those things, it just happens. So yeah, Hadi, don't worry about that. Everyone's forgot about it already, and hopefully we'll see you come back and kick on as you did in this game. But onto the defence. This is the part that I want to talk about the most, the part that I was impressed with quite a lot. I said Gavin Hoyt, Jack Cooley, fantastic. George Fowler, again, completely under the radar in his performance, but just what he does for this team is so useful. He's always picking up the man that's running in, and yeah, I mean, he's just always there. He's just that player who, you know, there's a ball coming over the top, in he swoops. You know, you don't even recognise it at times, but if he wasn't there, trust me, we'd be in so much trouble, especially last season. With some of the other options that we did have. But yeah, again, the defence really did impress me. We also saw a debut for Stone's new loanee from Portsmouth, 28-day loan, I do believe it is, Liam Vincent. I think he's only about 22 years old, so he's a very young player, but he's a very big player as well. He's very tall, very lean as well, which means he can get about quite quickly, and I was actually very impressed with him, especially in the first half an hour. I do believe he was subbed off at half time. I think it may have been a tactical decision, and this was simply because for the goal he did get pulled about a little bit. That kind of happened once Altrincham upped the intensity after the first half an hour. It was kind of every ball that they played, we was kind of rushing out to meet the guy who received the ball, which left the one who passed it free. And the kind of main problem I did have from this game, personally, was the midfield. We did individually, I think everyone had a pretty decent game. Corn, Booty, both getting stuck in, both playing good balls. Odesanya, the same as well. He did try and get stuck in, but there was a few times where we did get caught out in our conviction in a tackle. We might have done, there was kind of a winger had dropped back in, was following a man, and one of our midfielders did push up to make that challenge and didn't come away with the ball, which left us with less men back, and that did get exposed a couple of times. We was quite unlucky not to concede more than we did as well. They did hit the woodwork twice very early on in the second half, and this was some of the reasons why. But for Vincent, as I said, he kind of got pulled wide for the goal, which left him to then try and track back for the runner who made another run down the wing, and that allowed him to loop the ball into the back post. Gavin Hoyt just couldn't get close enough for his man for the pullback, and then Fowler and Corley couldn't pick up the runner in the middle. So again, it was this lightning speed that I'm talking about that you see in the National League. It really is a different cut from the National League South. Altrincham were a mid-table team last season, 14th place I think they finished, and they at times were just absolutely electric, pinging the ball all over the place, making runs all over the place. So it was very difficult for us to deal with in terms of going forward. We did have quite a lot of success in that first half an hour. As I say, we could have picked up a good couple of goals as well. Unfortunately, it's first game of the season. People aren't going to be 100% on it all the time, as much as we do wish they were. And of course, we did miss some pre-season games as well. Hakan's also made it quite clear that it might take us a couple of weeks to kind of get exactly where we need to be. But, if we're not where we need to be and we're picking up points against mid-table teams who are looking to press on from their position last season, pushing up the table a little bit more to upper mid-table, maybe playoffs for Altrincham, you never know. Like, this is just what aspirations these teams might have. And we're picking up a point against them, against all the odds, 10 men, first game in the National League for years, injuries, new signings, and we're picking up points. This is very good signs for us. Obviously, it's a long road ahead, another 45 games or so, but there's very good signs for, especially those of you who couldn't make it, of the mentality of the team. Again, as I say, there was chances for us to score, there was chances for us to concede as well. Unlucky not to score them, quite lucky not to concede them at times, but Mersin made some fantastic saves. Booty, I know, blocked a header from a corner with his own head. Not that he knew too much about it, but again, that saved us another goal. So, it's just this mentality that we've got, this, momentum from last season to know that, the game's not over until the final whistle blows, and we did not give up despite being at 10 men. We saw everybody putting a shift in. Henry Woods came on, and even though Henry Woods and Alabi came on, and even though we had 10 men, these two were creating chances for each other. Woods was playing good balls through. Unfortunately, they didn't come off sometimes, but 10 men, part and parcel of the game, were just trying to create a chance. But Alabi was really impressive for me. There was a few times where in the first half, at least, that our forwards did try and get through. There was one time where Jack Barham made a run into the box, actually in the second half, where he was kind of just tussling with a defender and did end up going down. Nothing was given, and for me, there wasn't too much in it. He could have played into the foul a little bit more, which could have got us a penalty, but when Alabi came on, we saw the same thing happen, but with a bit more success, and he was coming down the right-hand side of the pitch, in an attacking sense, and he had two men on him, and was just brushing him off, shrugging him out of the way, and he managed to get through and get a shot off, and that's just the different dynamic that we need. He's not slow, especially for his size. He's a very big player. He's quite tall, he's quite bulky as well, but he has got speed and energy as well, which of course is going to hopefully bode very well for us, and is that different dynamic, especially off the bench, which is going to create chances for us. And even with 10 men, we're still creating chances whilst being under the cosh for the last 45 minutes. Again, this is very good signs for us, and once we see a lot more of our first team players come back into the fold, Joe Lowell, Jerome Binnon-Williams potentially, Henry Woods maybe getting a start, and of course maybe Luque coming back, or Solwan, Joe Smith coming back from injury, we may see even better results. And for me, Altrincham all round was a pretty decent performance. If you look at the bigger picture, I think at the time many fans were kind of like, if we play like this against other teams, we might end up getting battered. But for me, I'm having a bit more of a positive outlook I'm taking a lot more of the situation into perspective. It's Altringham's first game as a professional football club, so they're right up for it. In their club history, I think they're over 100 years old. Bought a pin badge up there, but it doesn't say how old the club is on it. But this was for them a massive, massive game. They really did want to win this, and that showed on the pitch as well. So for us to come away with a point, I'm very happy with that result. Hakan was obviously very happy with that result, as he said on his post-match interview. But for me, there's not really too much into it. We've got York in a week's time. They did win quite convincingly at the weekend, and a lot of people got them tipped to finish quite high up the table. If you did watch our National League podcast, or National League edition of the off-air podcast, then Sean Skerr, one of the guests that we did have on, he did think York are actually going to finish 7th in the league, and a few people are echoing that sentiment as well. So it's going to be a really tough game against York, and hopefully we've got a few injuries back for that time as well. Hopefully we can see Liam Vincent get up to full fitness. Had a really good pre-season with Portsmouth. A few of them were actually quite disappointed to see him leave in Portsmouth, even though it's only a month-long loan. But hopefully we can just see a few more of our kind of starting players get into the squad and perform on a more consistent basis after a bit of a broken up pre-season. So yeah, York, it's going to be a tough game, but it's going to be our first game at home in the National League for 3 or 4 years now. So of course that is going to be massive. Hopefully many of us are going to be down there. I'm going to be there, God willing, of course, but hopefully we do manage to get another result there. I don't think many people would argue with another point, as long as you can see the team are fighting hard for it, and that is the most important thing. If this somehow does get fed back to any of the players, results are of course important, but for us, the fans, or at least me and a lot of the people that I know, we just want to see effort. We just want to see you as determined to get 3 points as any of the opposition we may be facing. Sometimes the odds are going to be against us, like they were against Altrincham, but it is that mentality that is going to see you pick up points in this league and hopefully steer clear of relegation. So that is my little Altrincham roundup. A few standout performers being Yusuf Mersin, Jack Cooley, probably Sam Corn, maybe Jack Barham as well in there. For me, Rory Deacon as well actually had a very, very good game. He did get pushed back into right back and did deal with it quite well. So, hopefully we can see these players build on that for the York game, pick up the confidence, pick up the goals, and hopefully see a result next week. So if you did enjoy this little review and preview, I suppose, little mix up there, then do subscribe to the channel, do like the video of course, and do leave a comment down below with your thoughts on the Altrincham game if you did make it, or maybe listen along on Stones Live, and I'm happy to hear your thoughts as well. So thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.